Welcome to another episode of Two Brothers, Same Mother. Of course, the cheek, we got AJ on the other side with the headset on.
Yeah.
So post-draft. So no more, mock drafts. The draft actually happened. And we just going to dive right in because it's interesting.
All right.
And I'm imagining you're going to be in the middle just like I am with this. And I'm not trying to get you riled up, but outside of the Philadelphia tri-state area, you look at grades, and obviously it's right after the draft. What are grades, right? But a lot of national people are giving the Eagles A-, B+, a lot of Bs, B+, B-. I think the lowest I saw was a B- nationally. The highest I saw was an A-. Locally, I think the highest I saw was a B-. And there's a lot of people that gave it outside of the first pick of F.
I haven't seen
a lot of D's.
Many Fs. I've seen a lot of the overall is, and I saw some of that. I think the overall, for what I saw, was kind of almost where we are, like inside. You know what I mean? Kind of like you're a little higher than me, but you know what I'm saying? Like low C, maybe low B, like range. It seems like C is the kind of the.
I saw a lot of C-, D+, D, F, D-, like, and of course you listen to the radio and everything's the worst thing ever of all time.
Oh yeah. I refuse to listen to radio.
I rarely listen to it anymore. Honestly, I used to be my kind of guilty pleasure, but so I kind of just want to go through some of the draft picks here.
Okay, we could do it.
It looks like we have a list of the reported undrafted free agents we're going to sign to. So there's two that are really interesting. One, which is almost a lock to make the team, which is very rare for an undrafted free agent to be almost a lock to make the team. But there's another guy too I kind of want to ask you about. So first and foremost, DeVonta Smith. I mean, we did a lot of talking about that during our live stream. Obviously, I had him mocked to go 6 overall to the Eagles. As we talked, I mean, we kind of were more into, well, you always were, but you kind of talked me into the Patrick Surtain train.
Right.
But if that's who they were targeting, and essentially they got an extra first out of it, to move down 4 spots, I think that was a good pick. And I think the pick itself, I mean, it's the way that Tom O'Shea was explaining it. This NFL ain't even the NFL 5 years ago. So you don't need a receiver to be 210, 215 anymore.
His footwork is just so dynamic and quick, like it's hard to jam him. And a lot of corners don't try to jam him because he gets such a quick step on him. I'm not mad with the pick. Like I said, I preferred Surtain. I knew it was almost impossible for Surtain to be there by the time we get to 10 or 12 or whatever.
You think about it. It actually worked out that the Broncos drafted Surtain. Because the Broncos don't draft Surtain. Dallas is taking them at 10. DeVonta Smith goes to the Giants at 11. We've seen what the Giants did, so it's obvious they were targeting Smith. And who knows who we end up with at 12. So Landon Dickerson, second-round pick, that was the pick a lot of people complained about.
And it wasn't because it was an offensive lineman. It was because of the injury history. But you hear so many, listen, man, there's so many pros and cons with it. You hear he's had this many injuries. He needs that for his explosiveness. But most of the guys that have that injury, the ACL is 2 times as strong as it was originally. And so you just hear the different things. So,
I mean, I'll put it like this. If he doesn't tear his ACL last year, he might have even been a top 10 pick.
Definitely a top 20. And even in the last one was the big one, the one that happened in December.
Right.
Just because you don't know if he's going to be ready by the season. And that's the only reason. Like, if he would have had that injury in September and it would have been 4th one, he still would have been a top 20 pick. It's just when it happened and if he'll be ready.
So smart, intelligent football people. We're not talking to people that flip out over everything. This pick showed that the Eagles are not planning to win this year at all.
I agree and disagree with what you just said. we both 1,000% wish we would have with linebacker. There was Asante Samuel Jr. there. There was Bazemore there. You get what I'm saying? So there's a lot of things that were going on. But I don't, and I do think it's somewhat to the future, but I don't think he's going to be redshirted, per se. I think they all. I think there's a good chance, man. Like the Eagles deep down, because he's just as dynamic at guard as he is center. I think deep down they're afraid Brandon Brooks may not be Brandon Brooks,
I think
and
I agree.
he may actually start at right guard. Oh man, that's some old country boy shit right there. Lemon Johnson on the right side.
Listen, but here's the other thing too. Like you now have two guys in him and Salamalu that can step in at center.
Yeah.
So, if Brooks is who he is, but say Malu slips, he can start to place the same Malu too. But I will say, yeah, you got Lane Johnson and that dude. That's just two giant pickup trucks just coming at you.
I mean, but I want you to think about this too, man. I know, like everybody's like, oh, some of the really good guys are over 30, but the Eagles also set theirs up for the future. So even though, like, to kind of piggyback what you said, you got Mayalata, who's extremely young. Okay, even if Sayamalu stays where Sayamalu is only like 27.
I think Sayamalu's 26, Mayalata's like 24.
You're right.
You know,
and then then you draft this kid. So we're talking like in 2 years, right? So then you're drafting this kid who's young at center. Then you got Herbig. He can play right guard. And then say if Lane ain't the same, no, you got Driscoll. You almost got like you had like if you think about that offensive line would be a legit offensive line. And you know what I mean on another time, and that's almost like our second string. Like you know what I'm saying? And that's why I kept telling people, man, like he adds another dynamic if he's healthy, but that's what I was telling people. If you really break it down, man, our O-line's straight.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting? I'm going to go to a fourth round pick here, Zach McPherson, quarterback from Texas Tech. And listen, I'm biased on certain things.
Mm-hmm.
You don't draft wide receivers from the Pac-12. You don't draft cornerbacks from the Big 12 because the Big 12 always torches, and the Pac-12. I can't remember last time a receiver was drafted out of the Pac-12 where his highlight reel didn't have a bunch of throws to him where nobody was around.
It's a little different because he played 3 years at Penn State and he graduated from Penn State, and then he had an extra year of eligibility, and because of COVID, he ended up going to Texas. Going to Texas Tech.
On top of that, this year actually was a defensive year for the Big 12. It was kind of topsy-turvy.
Right.
Well, first off, his name is Z-E-C-H, but it's pronounced Zach.
No, it's not. It's pronounced Zach. The guy I work with, he grew up with his dad. It's pronounced Zach.
I thought, okay, once again, Philly people got it wrong. They said that he came out and said, no, it's Zach. Exactly. But I'm trusting you. So
yeah. I'm trusting him. I'm trusting the guy.
Right. Well, Mr. McPherson. Okay, we're not gonna fuck that up. Now watch it be. It's McPherson. I'm gonna be mad. McPherson. Here was the interesting thing that I heard from one Ray Denninger, who we both respect greatly. By the end of the year, Zach might be our second starting corner alongside Slay, but not because our defensive backs are so bad, but because he's going to force his way into it.
And I could be wrong. I don't see that. Where I do see him bumping somebody, which is almost a starting position now, is pretty much, might as well say, is at nickel.
But he's built to be an outside corner too. Now that doesn't mean anything. I mean, listen, he's 5'10", 200 pounds, so it's all about technique when it comes to inside outside, right?
Right. And that's what I'm saying. And the reason being is, I don't know. I just had that weird feeling that I think he would end up being Noah kind of remind me of a little bit, another late round draft pick that people thought was going to be on the outside that played really good at the nickel. We should never let him go. Brandon Boykin. He kind of reminds me of a Boykin type. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I will say one interesting thing. Devontae Smith, Landon Dickerson, Zach McPherson, all were team captains.
Yeah.
It's obvious the Eagles were kind of targeting that. And our other pick in the 5th round, Kenneth Gainwell. Not sure if he was a team captain per se, but he was a leader.
Yeah.
Really decent running back. My only issue with this pick,
Yeah, you go.
he literally, if you sit there and you cover his face, and I asked you which one's Kenneth Gainwell, which one's Boston Scott, you wouldn't be able to tell. They're the same person.
Reading and listening to the Hall of Famer Diddy and stuff like that. There's one thing that they all say about the kid, like he's probably the best receiving back in the draft. So I'm just trying to find positives in it.
Right.
I'm not mad about it. It's just
I'm a little upset only because it has nothing to do with Kenneth Gainwell. Kenneth Gainwell, I mean, listen, my man opted out last year. He had 4 people in his family that died of COVID. I respect the fact that he did that.
Right.
The year before, I mean, he was lighting the AAC on fire. Very, very good back. It just seemed like, once again, I think this is where we got into trouble in years past with JJ's going to replace Alshon and Rager's going to just replace Deshaun. And it's just like, stop pigeonholing stuff. That's the way I feel.
Right.
Like
I'm not mad, but the thing is here, at least they did it in the 5th round, which we both said on this podcast. If you're going to get the projects, or if you're going to get the guys that you can try to do it from the 5th round on. Don't do it within your first couple picks, and they didn't do that. So I'm cool with that.
Right, and I mean, listen, like
the one I'm mad. Oh, sorry, the one I am a little mad about, and I hope he pans out because he's kind of. Not because of his play, just because of his size, is Aaron Donald, is our 3rd round pick, Milton Williams, because, he's a tweener.
I totally skipped over Milton Williams.
Yeah, he's a tweener, and he can play D tackle, he can play D end. And
it's nothing against Milton Williams per se.
Right.
But first and foremost, and let's just address this. Every single war room, you're going to have disagreements with later picks. You get to the point where you're rooting for somebody.
Oh, my man.
So Tom Donahoe being a little mad, and Donahoe's thing was supposedly it was the corner from UCF. And it was the corner from
UCF. Talking about Gowan? Talking about he wanted Gowan?
Yes.
We are not, or were not in the position to be drafting dudes in the 3rd round that we hope he could be good next year. Right. He'll be in the rotation this year. We hope he can become a starter next year. We're not in that position. We needed our first, at least a minimum, our first 4 picks to come in and be minimal starters, and at least 2 of them be big impact players.
Patrick Johnson, who was a linebacker at Tulane, but more than likely probably played defensive end for us, is 6 foot 240. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Teron Jackson, who explosive at Coastal Carolina, but is 6 foot 2, 254. And then you have Milton Williams, who is going to be a defensive lineman, so either tackle or end, 6'3", 284.
Mm-hmm.
All 3 of those dudes are super strong. The only guy that we drafted that seems to be your typical defensive tackle is Marlon Tuipulotu. I know I butchered his name, but from the defensive tackle from USC, that's like 310 pounds.
Right.
But is this a sign of what Gannon might be looking for out of his defensive linemen, guys that are strong but quick?
Just look at Minnesota's defense. He is Zimmer. He is a pupil of Zimmer. So that's why they went out and got the kid Eric Wilson, because they're going to make Eric Wilson their Rudd or whatever his name is over there in Minnesota.
Yeah, Eric Wilson, I think, is a severely underrated.
And I think that's why they didn't really make the issue on linebacker, to be honest with you.
Well, you know what's interesting? Like,
and real quick. You know what player in the past, you and I have always had a player that we always kept our eye on. as far as like draft and rookies and stuff. Like, yo, I'm gonna keep my eye on this guy. A couple years ago, it was LJ Fort, and both of us cried in our pillows when they let him go for a compensatory pick, and he went off the Ravens. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I'm going to look at this. I think it's Jacoby
I
Stevens.
was just about to talk about Jacoby. That's the last guy we
Bro,
haven't talked.
yeah, bro. I saw highlights of him. If you looked at him and didn't know, he looks like a linebacker,
Yes.
but he played safety. But the Eagles have him listed as a linebacker. So I wonder if they're going to go, man. Listen, if this dude could put on 10, 15 pounds before the start of the season, and if we go traditional with Eric Wilson as the middle and Singleton and him as the outside,
Stevens being almost like that position that Malcolm played for a bit.
it's just I think if he would have stayed at safety and didn't bulk up the way he did when he was in college, I think he would have been drafted a lot higher. Or vice versa, if he would have started putting on the weight a little earlier and beefed up a little bit more for linebacker, I think he just got caught kind of, you know what I mean? And hopefully he'll work out. But that's him and the undrafted rookie that we signed.
We're going to get to the undrafted.
Gotcha.
But to me, Jacoby Stevens and Landon Dickerson are the two that I'm really. Now, Landon Dickerson, obviously, second round pick. But Jacoby Stevens, I'm rooting for all of them, of course. You know.
Oh yeah, rooting for all of them. But I'm going to keep my eye on it. Like, yeah.
Of all the picks that were later than the third round, I think Stevens has the best chance of a guy whose jersey I would buy, followed by Gainwell. You know.
Right.
But Gainwell's more so just because he's going to have more opportunity. Now, as far as unsigned free agents, which you were going to get into, I'm just going to list a few of them off. Trevon Grimes, wide receiver out of Florida. Jamie Newman, quarterback out of Georgia, who really made his bones at Wake Forest. Coyote, I'm not even going to try, but he's offensive tackle.
He's a tackle from Buffalo.
Yeah. Jaquan Bally, defensive end from Iowa State. Jahaman Osborne, wide receiver from Texas A&M. Harry Critter, which is a center from Indiana. And Jake Stoll, tight end from Nebraska. Who did you want to talk about from here? And if it's the same person I want to talk about, then I'm going to be very excited.
I think Trevon Grimes, wide receiver from Florida. I think he will be a problem.
That dude was predicted to be a 4th round pick. My man had 37 catches last year. I think it was 37. 9 touchdowns. And that's with 2 first round picks at tight end and wide receiver playing alongside him. And it wasn't because he was left open because they were double teaming that. No, my man was making like straight up red zone threat.
Hopefully he'll be the reason we cut J-Jaw.
I listen, man. You tell me that we gonna have Devontae Smith, Rager. We have
Greg Ward.
Who's our undrafted homie?
Quez Watkins?
No, Fogel. Travis Fogel. And then now your 5th receiver is either going to be and then you have probably 2 spots between Grimes, who can play special teams, Watkins, who ain't afraid to play special teams, and Hightower. 2 spots for those 3 dudes.
And one of them will be on the practice squad.
Right. I don't see anybody. And here's the whole thing. I'll tell you right now. If it's probably going to be Grimes and Watkins because I don't see anybody picking up Hightower. I do see somebody picking up Watkins or Grimes.
Yeah. That's what I say. I think Hightower probably be that. I don't know Watkins because Watkins last year was on and off the practice squad last year because of injuries and stuff. But
right,
I don't know, man. This is shaping up actually not that bad to be honest with you.
I think it could. I think this was an okay draft, decent. That could be really good if by, let's say, October 2022, Devontae Smith is your number 1 receiver. Landon Dickerson is starting on the offensive line somewhere. Milton Williams is the guy that's replacing Fletcher Cox. And Zach McPherson is either your number 2 corner or your nickel corner. And, Kenneth Gainwell is probably replacing Boston Scott, but Gainwell and Sanders are a nice 1-2 thunder and lightning, so to speak.
In my opinion, if only out of these 9 picks, if 4 of them end up being on the team in a few years, you know what I mean? Just being okay. You can't go lower than a C- with this draft. which is great. But this draft could go from a C minus, in my opinion, from a C minus to an A plus.
Let's get into the 5-pack questions here.
All right.
So I'll start with, it's actually gonna be a two-parter here. So we'll start with the first
Okay.
part. So it's actually gonna be a 6-pack question.
Oh shit, 6-pack is my favorite.
Right, favorite Eagles draft pick, not named McNabb or Dawkins.
Ooh. Okay.
And I actually thought about this because there's quite a few candidates. Mine is probably Brian Westbrook.
Ooh,
which is why I didn't say Donovan O'Brien, because would have knocked out my pick.
Right. Oh man. I'm gonna have to agree with you. I'm gonna have to go Shady. Because there were some hard
I
ones.
said Brian Westbrook. You going Shady McCoy?
No, not Shady. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to rock with you, Westbrook.
Okay.
But there was hard. There was the Shadys. But I Shady's a dickhead. So as a person. So but
I was never a huge Shady. I appreciated what he did, but I was never a huge
until all this shit came out, I was a big Shady fan. Like I was just like I would argue with anybody like, Westbrook ain't got shit on him. He's better than Westbrook. But like you have, man, you got your Brent Sellecks, got your Trent Coles. You know what I mean? Like some of those guys that are Eagles. So Trey Thomas. So that's why I was kind of those are the guys that are playing in my head. Like
because my follow-up question was going to be your favorite Eagles draft pick beyond round 3 and further, because mine was Trent Cole. He's a 5th round.
Yeah, Trent Cole. Yeah, absolutely.
So I was just curious if there was anyone else you could think of past the 3rd round that like, hey, because as you mentioned, we normally look at the later rounds and pick a guy that we really want to watch. Was there anybody else you could think of beyond Trent Cole that like was picked beyond the 3rd round that you're just like?
He's not on the team anymore, and I know we gave him shit, but for being a 7th round pick, man, and being started in Green Goblin, you gotta give the kid props, man. Yeah,
no Isaac Sayamalu for you.
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of our 5th and 6th round picks were the Wendell Smallwoods of the world.
But you know what? Not to knock Wendell, man. I liked Wendell.
It is what it is.
Yeah, it's not that he left, but whatever.
With some of those days recently being in the mid 80s, one even hit like close to 90. Favorite summertime drink, whether it is alcoholic or non-alcoholic.
My favorite summertime drink is honestly. It's from the I don't even know the proper term. I'm still gonna say what we call it, the Chinese store. If you went to the Chinese store and you paid the $1 for that motherfucking iced tea,
the homemade iced tea
joint. You know how many times I'll be on the block going there, get me a Lucy. A Lucy was like a cigarette for like 25 cents, and get me one of iced tea. But the iced tea container was like in the wonton soup container.
The iced tea
had a big lemon.
It's a little over a quart.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's big. They still have them around. You can still get iced tea. You know what I mean? And it's funny because Philly people call it a Chinese store. And I remember when I was in college, like being around people from New York, they're like, "Why do you call it the store?" And I'm like, "Because it's a Chinese store." They're like, "Nah, it's a restaurant." And then when we walked in, and you kind of showed, they're like, "Oh shit, this is a store." I'm like, "Yeah, you can go in here. You can get some candy, you can get Lucy, you can get some condoms." I wouldn't suggest you getting any condoms from them because you're gonna end up with a baby, but right. you can get whatever.
You see, they always got little babies running around. Shit.
See, I'm actually a peach tea person, man.
Okay.
Now as far as alcoholic, I'm a big gin and tonic person. I seem to be the only person that likes gin and tonics, but
I mean, in the summertime, man, ain't nothing like a nice old ice cold beer.
See, that's a year-round thing for me.
But the summertime, you cut your grass.
Speaking of which, obviously, I'm assuming that is not the Chinese store. Your favorite hangout as a kid?
Favorite hangout as a kid?
And like, I'll give you mine. Even though I wasn't really ever that good, I always loved being at the basketball court.
Basketball courts was always fun. As a kid, probably there's a couple corner stores we used to love to hang out at as a kid because they had the arcade. I remember there was the one all the way down I can't remember the name of the street. It was on C Street. No, it was on C Street. It was the last crossing street before we got to Boulevard. Yeah.
Right.
right there. And there was a yellow store right there, and it had the grates on it. And me, Lamont, John, and Jamil, we would cut school and do all kinds of stuff. And we used to go in there and we used to spend money upon money on Ninja Turtles, man. We used to sit in there.
See, when I was younger, we got a bit of an age gap, but they
Right.
had a Neo Geo. It was the only place that you could find a Neo Geo arcade machine.
Mm,
So that's where I learned how to play King of Fighters and all that stuff.
okay.
Everybody else
Okay.
had Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, and Marvel superheroes. They had King of Fighters.
Right.
Favorite Philadelphia Eagle that was not a player.
What?
Favorite Philadelphia Eagle that was not a player. So your favorite Eagle coach or front office person, and I know who mine is, but I'm gonna let you answer first just to see if you end up going the same route I did.
It's going to have to go Andy, man.
Me, it's Merrill Reese.
Yeah, I retract that. Yeah, it's Merrill.
Merrill, you gotta love Merrill Reese, man.
Yeah, it's Merrill. I'm not even gonna try to do an impression.
Dude, no. We ain't gonna disrespect.
I'd butcher it. Yeah, good.
But I would say, yeah, as far as coaches, Andy. Well,
yeah. I grew up at. Listen, I remember Buddy. I've grown not less and less. I think, God, I'm gonna get crucified in Philadelphia for this. But as I've gotten older, I realized how overrated Buddy Ryan was as a whole coach.
As a defensive coach, it's totally different. But totally as a head coach, yeah.
As a head coach, yeah.
Last thing I had here was just, do you have a summertime tradition that you either celebrate now or you did in the past? I feel like when we become adults, summertime doesn't mean nearly as much as when we were kids.
It's just more hot at work.
Right.
Well, okay, as a kid, when I was younger,
mm-hmm.
and I won't say a younger adult, was like when you would come down and we would have more Madden tournaments like the whole summer.
That used to be fun.
But as an adult now, like an adult, as a family man, should I say, taking vacation, taking my family on vacation is probably.
Yeah, no matter what we do, you are someone that goes on vacation every year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we always do something every year. So
my thing, I mean, because my birthday is right smack dab in the middle of the summer,
mm-hmm.
But it's near the 4th of July. I always try to do something on the 4th of July. Usually it was around baseball because at the time it was cheap, and you could get Phillies tickets for like $10, and they had to find out the show and all that. But yeah, like. It's weird because I don't feel like summer has really begun until you get to right before 4th of July. And yet at the same time, once July 5th hit, you're like, yo, summer's almost over. Like it's
right. Yeah, like when I was younger, it definitely seemed like right around 4th of July was like when it got popping. But as I've gotten older, it's just like up 80 degrees in summer. Shit.
Right.
Fat for this.
I've done one more at you, just out something out of curiosity.
All right.
Summer fashion.
Okay.
Is there something, I'm not talking about, it doesn't have to be fashionable right now, but is there something that you break out or you wear during the summer, specifically, I'm not talking about the shorts or t-shirts or whatever, but is there something that was a summer fashion item that like you just wear just because it's comfortable or it's just your thing?
Nah, it's just, a lot of people just wear basketball shorts with a t-shirt.
Yeah, like me, like
that's just nothing really.
I mean, whether they're in style or not, wearing a basketball jersey in the summertime is always comfortable to me. You know what I'm saying?
Really? Yeah. I'm not. I don't know if I'm like at a cookout or something like that. I might have a basketball jersey on, but for the most part, just a t-shirt, like something like I got on now, and some basketball shorts.
So there's nothing about like you're not someone that you like wearing lighter sneakers or particular type of shorts beyond basketball shorts or anything like that.
Maybe low top sneakers. That's pretty much. But like you ain't gonna see me rock too many high top, or mid tops. But nah, I'm not.
And I know, and I've never seen you rock sandals just randomly. You know what I'm saying?
Nah. I just got into Crocs Christmas time, so
right.
But yeah, nah. It's.
I don't know if I'm going to be seeing you with Crocs on in the front lawn. I don't know if that's your thing.
I check my mail on my Crocs, bro. You know, don't get fucked up.
There's difference between checking your mail in your Crocs and
I
playing cornhole in your Crocs, okay?
Oh no, cornhole in my Crocs. No. No, we play cornhole and Crocs. Cornhole and Crocs. No,
That sounds like a bad idea.
no. I will say this. I have developed. It's not even about fashion, I guess, because I'm old dude, but I have developed a whole cargo shorts and polo shirt thing. So,
Yo, that is an old man giveaway. But
oh yeah,
as someone pointed out to me, and I'm younger than you,
that's a bougie suburban, bro.
that ain't bougie. But cats in North Philly still wear polos and cargo shorts, and they.
Oh man, I thought that. Hey, listen. At least I'm not wearing the dress slacks and the black socks, and you know what I mean.
I will say this, man. I'm glad the whole capri thing is out of style.
Or the man priest.
The joint, where it was like shorts, but it only came up to about mid calf.
Yeah. Well, the jorts. I have a pair. I actually have two pairs. But I wear them to work now because I'm allowed to wear jeans when I jockey outside. So instead of just giving them away, I wear them. I don't care.
That's different from work. Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
But no, I remember the jorts. A couple people like, yo, you got man prees on. Yep. Like this much. Yeah.
Now, you know what's crazy? We call them jorts. Everywhere else in the nation, jorts are just jean shorts. But
really,
yeah, here jorts were they're not jeans and they're not shorts. They were the capris. They're right.
Yeah, the man prees. Yeah. What was crazy is jean shorts are kind of have been out of style for a few years. So.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it is. But listen, it's summertime's all about being comfortable with me. As long as you're comfortable.
Yeah, I'm a basketball, you know, athletic type short all day, basketball short type person all day.
Well, listen, that's our show, people. Listen, I just want to thank everybody that came to our live stream. I'm still posted on our Facebook if you want to check it out. It's over 3 hours long. I would suggest if you check out our live stream video, just fast forward to right before the Eagles traded with the Cowboys for that 10th pick, and you'll see about 15 minutes of pure gold and what it's like to be an Eagles fan.
Yeah. I almost threw up. I felt sick. That was crazy.
And I feel like I'm going to have to apologize to Kwity Paye because I feel like with my luck, I'll end up needing to do because I definitely called him that dumb defensive end from Michigan at least 10 times, and I don't know the guy from Canada. But
yeah, I mean, I hope he does well for Carson and them out in the Colts.
I hope he does well for the Colts. I mean, you know.
That's what I say. Go ahead out for the Colts.
But and he has a very decent story too about his life and whatnot.
Oh yeah, I do like how he told his mother right there when he got it that she's retiring right there, like she's done working. That was dope.
Yeah, that was really really cool. He seems like a good dude. I'm just happy with DeVonta Smith. But
me too.
Until next week, y'all. We're gonna now interesting thing this week. We got the schedule. So we'll do the whole W and L thing. You know, everybody else does that.
Yeah.
But it's going to be interesting too, just because, I didn't realize looking at the schedule, so many teams got 3 bona fide receivers and a decent tight end that we're going up against.
Really?
You figure out every team in the NFC East got 3 receivers that are pretty decent.
Yeah.
The Falcons now got Kyle Pitts along with Ridley and Julio Jones as of now. You know what I'm saying? We end up playing the Chiefs. We end up playing the Broncos, who depends on who's throwing the ball. That's the biggest issue. But they got receivers.
Yeah.
You know, dealing with Justin Herbert and the Chargers, like it's going to be interesting looking at it. So.
Yeah, it's and when and where we're playing them and things like that too.
For all my gambling fans, soon as they show up, soon as the schedule comes out, bet the over on every single Eagles game. Every single one. Just bet the over. just do it.
We damn sure ain't stopping nobody.
Nah, it's either we losing 49-7 or it's going to be a shootout, but it'll be 35-31.
Right.
I'll be if this defense, and I would love to be wrong, but if this defense allows less than 26 points a game, and I don't mean 25.9, but like if they allow 24 points or less, it will be a miracle.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Have a great week. Talk to you soon, and stay safe.
First.